Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. I'm your host, Joe Kuzma. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm emotionally fragile still for my Christmas gift from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the now 10-5 AFC North division champion Pittsburgh Steelers, rolling to their sixth victory in a row, dropping the Baltimore Ravens to 8-7 and out of the playoffs by virtue of a last final minute game-winning touchdown drive by Ben Roethlisberger and a 31-27 victory that looked all too much like the familiar script of a Baltimore and Pittsburgh game, particularly one even played in Heinz Field. The games are usually close. This one was no different. But man, if you didn't have that feeling in the pit of your stomach, two feelings, that Baltimore could pull this off, and then the other one where you felt Pittsburgh could pull this off. And it was the latter one that nearly had me, I'm going to say, I choked up at the end of this game. This was absolute insanity. The Baltimore Ravens control the ball possession in this game over the Pittsburgh Steelers. They create two turnovers in this game as well. This was just unbelievable what the Steelers were able to accomplish here with let's face it, Antonio Brown enters the fourth quarter with only 4 catches. Also, looking at everything from the big picture, the Steelers score 21 points in the fourth quarter after the Justin Tucker field goal that opened the fourth quarter and put Baltimore up 2 scores, 20-10 in our house. And you had to be thinking right then, what is going through these guys' mind? Let me tell you, the Killer Bees, they stepped up. I had some predictions in this game. Not all of them came to fruition. I thought the Steelers might cover a 5.5 point spread. Man, Vegas always gets it so close, don't they? 4 points just right there. And then I also predicted that Le'Veon Bell would embarrass the Ravens D. I thought he would go for 150. He didn't quite get there. 122 on the ground, another 15 in the air on 3 catches. He did get 2 touchdowns. Still a big game. It's still a big game. Still a big day for Lev Bell and the Steelers running the North. Fans liking the color rush jerseys thought that might happen too. Thought Flacco might get sacked 4 times. He only went down twice. Lawrence Timmons gets to him, as does. Man, I'll tell you what. I'm all over the place today. I am a wreck. It was just one of those stressful holiday weekends, and you wrap it all up. Bud Dupree getting up to 3.5 on the year. That was my other guy. So just looking at it from that standpoint, I also made a prediction that Tucker would miss. He didn't actually miss, but the field goal was not a success. So I'm going to call that a successful prediction for this game as the Steelers end up on top, lock up the 3rd seed for sure. I mean, I think there's some crazy calculus formula where the Steelers could fall to the 4th seed, but regardless, they are playing at home. More than likely, it looks like they're going to be playing the Miami Dolphins. All the AFC teams are locked up, and I think position-wise, the wild cards are locked up as well by virtue of the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Denver Broncos yesterday. And I think the only way, the Raiders have locked up the 2 seed as well. So the New England Patriots are number 1. The Raiders are number 2. You got the Steelers coming in at number 3, the Texans at 4, the Chiefs at 5. So the Chiefs will go to Houston, and the Miami Dolphins at number 6 come to Pittsburgh for a team that, when they went down to Miami earlier this year, they looked like trash. They probably felt like trash. They were thrown up on the field, pulled muscles, exhaustion, all this other crap. Now you got to bring the Dolphins up. Dolphins squeaking out an ugly victory in overtime with the Buffalo Bills last week. I do not think this is a very strong Miami Dolphins team. They are improved. They're without Ryan Tannehill, probably will not be back in time for the playoffs. So the Dolphins going to make their first playoff appearance since 2003, and I think the Steelers are high time for revenge. But sticking with this Baltimore Ravens game, it really felt good to stick it to them in much the way I felt in those final minutes that the Steelers wouldn't get the ball back. I felt there was something up Jim Harbaugh. Nah, I hate him too. I follow Ohio State, so I'm also glad that both Harbaughs are losers to my teams. But John Harbaugh always has something up his sleeve. Something, you want to say cheat, because usually Bill Belichick's the other one that comes up with this. Cheating comes to mind. It just seems like something without, outside the spirit of the game of football that Harbaugh finds a loophole in the rules. And I felt there was going to be some type of craziness that was going to happen. I really thought that's what they were trying to do with all the offsides at the end with the point after attempt. It's just like, come on, guys. 2 points isn't going to do anything for you here. You can't score a free throw and win this game with 4 seconds left. Let me talk about that final drive. It's just incredible when you look at who caught passes. Ben Roethlisberger, 8 passes on this final drive. And you take a look at everybody that got one all the way down to the wire. And Ben Roethlisberger, short pass to Jesse James, short pass to Antonio Brown. Another pass to Jesse James. Another pass to DeMarcus Ayers. Huge pass down the field for 20 yards to Eli Rogers. They call a timeout. Another pass to Kobe Hamilton. Another pass to Jesse James. Spiked the ball. Touchdown to AB. And people are talking, what if AB didn't cross the goal line there? You know what I would hope if AB didn't cross the goal line? There should have been a freaking flag for Eric Weddle having his fist tucked inside Antonio Brown's mouth practically. How are people always missing these face masks on Antonio Brown? His head gets yanked off. We got so excited about this play. Think about this. Antonio Brown is standing like 45 degrees sideways, standing up strong with a third tackler and maybe a fourth about to come in, and muscles his way over the goal line while having his head simultaneously twisted off like a Lego person. This is insane. Yeah, this is the only complaint I had. John Perry and his crew I thought were excellent yesterday. I thought it was great that finally you got a few guys. You got the Baltimore Ravens, actually. DeMarcus Ayers, this is what I wanted to talk about this final drive. You have DeMarcus Ayers, who's playing in his first NFL game ever. Comes up with not only a big catch. Ben didn't have an incompletion on that entire final drive. And he's throwing to guys like DeMarcus Ayers, who's never even played in a game. This is a guy that was a 7th-round pick. Plays 28% of the game on Sunday, on Christmas Day. Ends up getting a pass interference call by beating Tavon Young, also a rookie. And that's usually the way it goes the opposite way, where Joe Flacco's throwing the jump ball. So I thought it was karma. I thought the Ravens got a taste of their own medicine. I thought that call was well-deserved. But the face mask getting missed, I know you got referees looking for the goal line. Cool with that. But I don't know who's looking for face masks in the end zone. This seems to be a problem. And I don't mean to complain about officiating. Like I said, John Perry and the crew did a fantastic job with this one. They got the holding where there was the holding. They got the false start. Even the ones that killed the Steelers here, justified calls. You got the defenseless receiver stuff. Didn't know, though, that I really agreed with the Shazier one so much. But, hey, you know what? I really hate the players could lower this is the problem I have with it. Not so much the call. It's so much the rule. I'll put it that way. So I'm not going to pin it on the referees right here. It's the rule, because if a fullback, I think it was Juszczyk, who had a big game too, by the way. The guy's tough. Ravens are always a tough opponent. I'm going to give them credit. Maybe a little more respect than I wanted to, even though Nate said he hates him, but he respects him. I guess that's fair. I mean, Juszczyk lowers his head, and Shazier ends up cracking him. And it's just like, what are you supposed to do there in the heat of the moment? Ryan Shazier is like Superman fast. He's like almost the Flash, somewhere in the middle. He's like a cheetah. comes in, and the guy lowers his head within split second. What are you supposed to do? So, anyway, the guys catching the balls on this final drive. I mean, Antonio Brown definitely stepping up, no doubt. But Jesse James, 2 catches, 5th round draft pick last year, second-year player. You got Eli Rogers, and Jesse James played 84% of this game since Ladarius Green was out with the concussion protocol. You have the early touchdown by an undrafted first-year player with the Steelers, bounced around, been on nothing but practice squads for his NFL career, and Xavier Grimble is out there for 9 snaps, 9 plays, catches a touchdown down the seam. The big playability we thought might have been missing when Ladarius Green was ruled out for this game. So there's another guy. It's like, who are these people? It's almost like a no-name offense. Kobe Hamilton, another lifetime practice squad player, bounced around the league, been a steady starter now with the Steelers. Eli Rogers, second-year player, but didn't play any of his first year, was on injured reserve. Also undrafted from Louisville. Huge game for Eli Rogers. Man, just absolutely phenomenal what Eli Rogers was able to do out here, running through some of the 4 for 84. He caught all but one ball that was thrown in his direction. He had a 39-yard long. Jesse James, 4 for 49. AB targeted 11 times. He caught 10 of them for 96, and, of course, the game-winning touchdown. Nearly had 100. Xavier Grimble only had the one 20-yard catch that was for the TD. DeMarcus Ayers and Kobe Hamilton only caught passes on that final drive. Only targeted one. Well, they take it away due to penalty, so technically DeMarcus Ayers was, targeted twice in this game. So you could, you get where it is when it comes to statistics versus reality here. So that play nullified by penalty. And really that's what should have happened. I was trying to say at the end when people were talking about, well, if he didn't get over the goal line, well, there should have been a flag. That would have stopped the clock. Even if the clock were to technically run out there, you can't end the game on a penalty. They would have got the ball. Not exactly sure where it is. Face mask, usually 15 yards. That final play came from the Pittsburgh. Sorry, folks. Trying to find it here. It came from Baltimore's 4-yard line. So would have been half the distance to the goal. You get 2 yards closer. Would have been a reminder, just like the Cleveland Browns game where there was multiple flags that kept extending that half. Same exact deal here. I know I'm missing somebody. What did I say? Kobe Hamilton. DeMarcus Ayers. Yes, DeMarcus Ayers. 7th round draft choice on the practice squad all year. Gets called up to the active roster, I believe, last week for the first time. You had Darius Hayward-Bay active in this game, but he did not play on offense at all. Did not even, let me see. He came in on special teams. He was out there for 10 snaps. Al-Haj Shabazz, also a special teamer, just signed back from the Texans and then called up to the main roster. And the big surprise who was out was Jarvis Jones. Completely irrelevant now with the Steelers defense. So you look at all of these contributions and where they're coming from. It is quite incredible. And that's not even to say Artie Burns, Sean Davis playing the full game. Ryan Shazier does the same. Ross Cockrell does the same. Bud Dupree does the same. Harrison plays all but 1 snap. Timmons all but 2. Mike Mitchell all but 4. Then you jump down to another 6th-round pick from last year. L.T. Walton, as I said, would get a lion's share. He plays 89% of the game. More than Javon Hargrave at 84. So there's your defensive lineman there, I said. And then, of course, Johnny Maxey and Ricardo Matthews. Maxey getting called up from the practice squad, his first ever game. He plays about a quarter of the game, as does Matthews. So this is very, very interesting dynamic and contributions. This is a team victory because Ben Roethlisberger not looking so sharp. He starts that second half, and you go from feeling good about having the ball to basically you just gave Baltimore 80 yards and the ball back on an interception on the very first play of the third quarter. And that's a heartbreaker. You can't turn the ball over like that and expect to win games. The Steelers held strong. I know a lot of people are probably thinking the defense could have done a better job. This is a hard-fought game. This is what has to be done. You have stops sometimes. Sometimes you don't have turnovers. They did just enough when needed to. Say Sean Davis had a few nice stops, as did Mike Mitchell. The safeties helping in the end zone. Some of those were close. The ball knocked out. I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. This was a tough victory. I get really sick. Mike Tirico, who I think is a fantastic play-by-play guy. Doug Flutie should not have even been in the booth. And it's like Tony Dungy, I think, may have had some rust on him too, because the color guys for this game were just awful. Flutie absolutely didn't offer much of anything. He almost sounded like John Madden at one point. I think he said something like, well, if they score here, they'll go up by 4 points. Yeah, no kidding. Thanks for the math lesson, Doug. But Mike Tirico calling Joe Flacco Joe Cool all the freaking time. There's only one Joe Cool. No, it's not me. Should be. I'm definitely much cooler than Joe Flacco. It's Snoopy. Charlie Brown Christmas. You know him. Actually, Joe Cool I don't think makes an appearance in Charlie Brown Christmas. But if anybody's cool, it's Ben Roethlisberger. He throws 2 picks in the third quarter. He basically, the right out the gate for the half. And then there's another drive where it's the second play of the drive, and he gives Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens got amazing field position in this game. It just goes to show you, any team can do anything. I know I was downplaying the Baltimore offense, but when you get the ball and you look at their possession, Baltimore gets the ball off an interception on the Pittsburgh 20, and then another interception on the Pittsburgh 11. They also started the game on their own 40. They ended up punting on that drive. They got another drive in the fourth quarter where they started on their 40 as well, and luckily that was another punt. This was Chris Boswell, who I'll criticize a little bit. I know what's going on, and they're doing this sky kick thing, and it's like a love-hate, which side of the blade is going to cut me type thing. And they try and kick it up and try and force somebody less than 25, because if you kick it out the back of the end zone or it's a touchback, they start at 25, and it's statistically more probable, dealing with the analytics and whatnot, the same play sheet that you decide whether or not to go for 2 points or whatever after a touchdown. So they think, well, if we kick it a little shorter, force the returner to come out, then we could stop them, short of the 25, and then it's statistically less probable that that team scores on that drive the further back, the closer they backed up to their own end zone, which would be true if you saw the Steelers convert on 2 third downs and have penalties back them up both times on the same drive there, and then they end up punting, of course. Just stalled the one drive entirely. And it's one of those things where it's the field position battle, and you gift the Baltimore Ravens the ball off of those picks. I mean, completely the worst. I mean, they're throwing the ball like near the end zone and throwing a pick and not scoring and leaving points on the board, which is bad too. But at the same time, that team has to march all the way downfield against your defense. This changes the script entirely and makes it difficult for the defense to do. I mean, what else are you gonna ask of them? Very difficult. And when teams know you as well as they know you, Baltimore's been around for they're always playing the Steelers. Baltimore and Cincinnati, the reason that they're always tough division games is because the coaching staff doesn't have a whole lot of turnover. And even the turnover they have, they promote internally. Marty Mornhinweg, he'd been around for the quarterback coach since last year anyway. So when Mark Trestman got canned earlier this year, it wasn't like some big drastic change with a new guy. He was already familiar with the players, the staff, and everything else. And Harbaugh's been there forever. And the same thing with the Bengals. Marvin Lewis has been there forever, and they promote from within with their offensive and defensive coordinators and everything like that. But the thing with the coaches is Mike Tomlin just a cheerleader, as Terry Bradshaw called him? I mean, I had to address this. I love that everyone was throwing shade at Terry afterwards. Terry's a bitter guy, I know he's beloved by a lot of Steelers fans, the 4 Super Bowls in the 70s and the Hall of Famer and whatnot. He's a very bitter, he comes off as selfish if you ask me. I want to say that one time for the Super Bowl thing, was it Super Bowl 50 or one of these Super Bowl things, like he didn't show, they didn't offer him enough money or whatever be the case, just to show up, and all these other past Super Bowl MVPs were there, not Terry. Beneath Terry to show up at a Super Bowl and be honored and have his name put out there, and everybody bow to him. But that's beneath him. You need better. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'm just trying to remember when that was, but the same difference. He doesn't make a whole lot of appearances in Pittsburgh, period. A lot of these players are invited back to Heinz Field for various alumni functions, and you've seen it with Jerome Bettis. And I want to say one of the rare appearances now, he does have a TV job, so that does prohibit him from showing up in person, obviously. If it's a Sunday, he's working for whoever it is now, CBS, I think. CBS, yeah, Fox, one of them. And, he's got a job to do. Okay, I get it. But he did record a video message that they played on the big screens on the scoreboard for Mean Joe Green on Mean Joe Green Day a couple of years ago. And everybody thought that was very classy because you never see anything from Terry Bradshaw. So to hear Terry Bradshaw come out from under a rock and criticize Mike Tomlin in the way he did, and we're going to cover this in the WTF with Terry in the middle of the week as well, was just absolutely ridiculous. So how's that for a cheerleader? Because everyone that was complaining about fire Tomlin, fire Todd Haley, and all this crap during this game, you know what? Todd Haley and Mike Tomlin don't decide to overthrow David Johnson. They don't decide to throw to David Johnson at all. I guarantee you David Johnson is not the primary receiver probably on any play. Maybe one of those short yardage installed packages. I remember a 2-point conversion earlier this year in Cleveland. It's about the only play I could think of that might be designed specifically for David Johnson. He's not going to be the primary receiver when you have Antonio Brown and Ladarius Green, and even Eli Rogers and some of these other guys. Lev Bell. Come on, man. That's not a Todd Haley deal there. About Todd Haley, this is his playbook that Ben's running towards the end. How about Ben audibling out 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3? And he said he read the defense right and didn't even gain anything on the play. A run play, audible out, an option over to hand off the ball to Le'Veon Bell. And we've seen that happen before where Ben's been faked out with that. And it's okay. You're not going to get it right all the time. I'm not trying to criticize Ben. I love Ben. But these are just the things that you have to consider when you're criticizing the coaches. If you're going to call call Mike Tomlin a cheerleader, you're going to say his coordinators are good. Then you have to admit that Todd Haley's good. And then a bunch of Yinzer's heads just exploded. So just keep that for food for thought. But Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben, the real Joe Cool, standing tall, 3 touchdown passes in this game, the 2 interceptions, a 103.0 QB rating. Just incredible scoring 3 times to end this game. I don't know what else to say to that. Who else can be Joe Cool? So, Ben is Ben. 2 touchdown passes at the end. I mean, he answers, they go ahead, and then he has to have the game-winning drive, manage the clock. That's tremendous coaching, folks. I don't know what else to tell you on that. Really is. But as far as playing time and everything else, these contributions from practically unknown guys, the Steelers will now get to play the Cleveland Browns, who had their own Christmas miracle winning their first game. They beat the San Diego Chargers, as me and Nathaniel Bodner just, I don't know if we commented on the air about it. We may have been off the record with the last episode of the Steel City Underground podcast, and we were both like, I think Cleveland's going to do it this week. And they did. And now all the Browns fans are thinking that they're just set up for, quote, next week. They're going to come into Heinz Field and do anything. You can do whatever you want, guys. This is a preseason game for us now. Our starters are going to play a quarter, maybe a half. We're going to see Landry Jones. We're going to see D'Angelo Williams, who only played 1 snap in this game. We're going to see Darius Green's going to just get to sit and rest, even if he was ready for concussion protocol. This is almost as good as having a bye. Sometimes I don't like the bye. I don't like sitting for that long. So you get to loosen the body a little bit, throw around the football against a really bad football team that our backups will probably even handle. So feeling really good about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So considering if they beat the Cleveland Browns, they will have won 7 games in a row to make the playoffs and finish at 11-5. and win the AFC North. That is just incredible for everyone that was just hating on Mike Tomlin when Ben Roethlisberger was hurt. He was hurt in that Miami game and continued to play. He was not around when they lost to the New England Patriots. He had just come back from injury when they went out to Baltimore and lost to the Ravens. And they played a very tough back-and-forth game that was much like this one on Christmas afternoon, I guess. I just got done belching from eating dinner. And I said when Juszczyk got in the end zone, I said, you know what? This is going to be the Dallas game in reverse. The Steelers are going to leave no time on the clock, come back and win this game. And they did. And I'm telling you, it left me in tears. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone had a great and festive holiday weekend. Until next time, be safe, be good, go Steelers, and I'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.